Hello, Astro Darlings, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. It is Sunday, the 20th of April in the year 2025. It is Easter Sunday. Happy Easter if you're celebrating. And I am here in very beautiful, lovely, fabulous Escazú, Costa Rica. And it's a beautiful evening. It's a little late today for me to be doing this because we had a big celebration in the garden of a couple of birthdays and Easter. And yes, I live with a lot of Aries people who had birthdays earlier this week. So we rolled it all into one celebration. So we've got a heavy duty week. Some big stuff is happening and it's starting right now. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to say is we are now in Taurus season. And Taurus season started yesterday at 3:56 p.m. Eastern Time. And Aries is over, Taurus is here, and the sun has now entered the sign of Taurus, where it will stay for the next 4 weeks. This is a lovely sign. It's ruled by Venus. Venus is now direct. It's all good. But the sun is in Taurus, and it's now 1 degree of Taurus, meaning the sun moves 1 degree per day, okay? And so the sun in Taurus is now in a new situation because it is squaring Mars, which has now gone back into Leo. So Mars, we've been waiting all this time for Mars to turn around, which it did at the end of February, and move through the sign of Cancer and go back into the sign of Leo, where it started the retrograde back in December. Now, it's not quite out of its shadow, meaning, like I talked about last week, Mars is at 1 degree of Leo. It has to get to 6, okay? And when it gets to 6 degrees in early May, then it's going to be finished with the retrograde shadow, the whole retrograde done. We're out of that. And so this is a very long process. I mean, it's only April 20th, and we have to wait another couple of weeks or so, another 10 days for it to get to that place, okay? And it's very important because we're going to start to really feel freed up from all the stuff that we went through, the discomfort that the retrograde brought us, and all of the discomfort that we've been going through in these months with Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde, and everything really needs to kind of shake out now. So we've had progress this week in that Mercury went into Aries on Wednesday, and that Mars went into Leo on Thursday, Friday, depending on where you live. And now we've got the sun in Taurus, but the sun and Mars are challenging one another, which could make you feel irritable, which could make you feel ornery, which could make you start a fire you didn't want to start. Not a passionate fire, but maybe an irritability one. Now, it's very true. You could be experiencing something very passionate or something very exciting. This is a really good experience when, you use the sun Mars properly. And it's very useful in your week because it gets you inspired and it gets you motivated and it gets you moving. But sometimes on a Sunday, especially a Sunday that's a holiday, if you're celebrating the holiday, we're meeting with families and we're meeting with people, and maybe it's just a little uncomfortable. There may be talks about things that, we're not supposed to really get into arguments about. So it could be a little argumentative. We want to avoid that. Now, this isn't the whole thing that's going on. The sun and Mars are sort of rubbing up against each other in an abrasive way. So that's part of this. What's adding to this is that Pluto is at early Aquarius, and it's still at early Aquarius. It's 3 degrees Aquarius. And that means we have formed a T-square. And this is a very deep T-square because the sun, Mars, and Pluto are in a very fiery connection with one another. Okay, so it's Sun, it's Mars, it's Pluto, and it's like irritability and impatience and why did you do that and what's wrong with you and what's wrong with me? Why did I do this? And this can be something a little self-flagellating. It can be something really making us ornery. We can get into arguments. But right now they are all coming together. Now, Pluto's a little bit ahead of them. It's really Sun and Mars, and they are going to be exact at 9:34 p.m. tonight. So like in an hour from when I'm doing this. And when I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at this on my wheel in my charts, I'm seeing that, we've got, it's all fixed, right? So it's Taurus, it's Leo, it's Aquarius. The empty space is Scorpio. And so there may be a way to diffuse this when we tap into what makes us passionate, what gives us passion and excitement, what excites us. Where is there some juicy stuff that we'd like to sink ourselves into? And so how can we do that? Where are the experiences that bring us passion? What brings us excitement and fun and passionate things? It could be that you need to blow off steam. Maybe you need to go to the gym if the gym is open. Maybe you need to go to, for a walk this evening, or wherever you are in the world. Maybe it's a good time to go out and use up the energy. Bring the fire up. Maybe do some exercises in your house. Maybe do some deep breathing, holotropic breathwork style. Okay? These are things that ignite and inspire us. So if you want to do something inspiring, well, then this is the time to do it. And, this is not something that's going away because the sun is going to square Pluto. It technically is squaring Pluto now, but it's really squaring Mars now, but it's not going to really square Pluto until the sun gets to 3 degrees. Right now it's at 1 degree. So when the sun gets to 3 degrees and squares Pluto, that's when we are looking at Wednesday. And that's 1:10 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. And as we move through this experience, it will get more intense. So today, Sun and Mars. Tomorrow we're moving closer to Sun. It's between the Mars relationship and the Pluto relationship. This is intense. And you know what that means, right? Mars is going to oppose Pluto. Mars is already within orb. This is an aspect. We're in it. We're in a T-square. But tonight, what makes it really special, tonight on Easter, what makes it really special is that the moon is joining them. So the moon's already in Aquarius. Moon went into Aquarius about an hour or so ago. And the moon is going to make all the aspects. It's going to oppose Mars at 9:35 p.m. tonight. It's going to conjunct Pluto at tomorrow morning at 2:20 a.m. Okay, so when you get into Monday, this is still hanging in the air. So if you're listening to me on Monday, like many of my Astro Darlings tell me they do, you are in the throes of this T-square with the moon and Pluto together in Aquarius. Okay, so this is intense. This is emotions. This is, passion. This is fire. This is, irritability. This is, I just want to express myself. I'm getting frustrated about expressing myself properly. So this is the beginning of a complicated week. This is a complicated aspect. But like I said, the outlet, the empty space is in Scorpio. So it's asking us to bring in that Scorpio energy, that intensity, that passion, and allow it to flow. Allow your passions to flow. Allow yourself to express yourself. Maybe you have to have a difficult conversation these next days. But it's where we want to release all of this. At least, it's not plugged up by a Scorpio planet right now. Now, if you are an early Scorpio, that would be an October Scorpio, then you are feeling this for sure. But all the fixed signs are feeling this. If you're a Taurus, a Leo, a Scorpio, or an Aquarius, you are feeling this. And I'm certainly feeling this. So this is something where we don't want to be purposefully irritable, contrary. Contrary, the moon is in Aquarius. This is a very contrary energy. So don't be contrary for the sake of being contrary. Be lively, be expressive. Go do something energetic. Tomorrow, get up and go to the park. Go run. Go do something that's going to burn off this energy a bit. And do something that gives you some zest for life, that Scorpio energy that we want. Now, this is going to play out over the next bunch of days. Meaning, right now we've got the moon here. So the moon isn't going to be in this configuration much longer than tomorrow. It'll stay in Aquarius, but it won't be locked in with Mars and the Sun and Pluto. It'll move on by tomorrow afternoon, okay? Then it's going to continue its journey through Aquarius and enter Pisces early Wednesday morning, Eastern Time, 1:07 a.m. If it's Pacific Time or my time, it's going to happen Tuesday night that the moon will go into Pisces. But we're not worried about that right now. When we get in that moon really is like involved in things this week, okay? We've got to get through this T-square with the fixed signs and the moon there. And then what's going to happen is the sun is going to make its exact square to Pluto on Wednesday, like I said, 1:10 p.m. And then what's going to happen is at the end of the week on Saturday the 26th, Mars is going to oppose Pluto exactly 9:05 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're building up to the opposition of Mars and Pluto. And this is very important, very important. Okay, first of all, we're watching all of these planets sort of slide into place. Bing, the moon comes in, hits Pluto, opposes Mars, squares the sun. That's all happening between tonight and tomorrow morning, okay? Then the sun comes in, squares Pluto Wednesday. Then when we get to Saturday, Mars is coming closer and closer and closer, and it finally opposes Pluto next Saturday. Mars is still slow. Normally, it doesn't take this many days for it to oppose Pluto, make an opposition. But because it's still slow, because it hasn't really gotten out of the shadow and it hasn't fully released itself from that retrograde, it's still slow. What does this feel like? It feels intense. Like I said, it can feel aggravating. You want to navigate this. It's very powerful. And it's a great time to be feeling powerful, to own your power, to be understanding your power, to be learning things about yourselves and how powerful you are. So this is so, so important. And what is so vital about Mars opposing Pluto is this is the last time in this round of oppositions. So remember, last year, before Pluto went into Aquarius, Mars opposed Pluto, and they met at the end of Cancer and Capricorn. So Mars went opposite Pluto while Pluto was still at the very end of Capricorn, and then Pluto changed signs. Mars was no longer in opposition. So there was one story completed back in November. Then after that happened, Mars went on its way, turned around, went retrograde, and met up with Pluto again, but this time it was Mars in Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius. We've changed signs. This was significant. It was no longer the last dredges of Pluto in Capricorn. It was at the very end of Pluto's journey through Capricorn. It was just went out with a bang with that opposition from Mars. Then, so things were tight and tense and a little crazy last year around that time. And then Pluto went into Aquarius and all of that vanished. And then as Mars went retrograde and went backwards, it opposed Pluto again in January, very early in the year. So it was like January 1st, January 2nd that Mars opposed Pluto, and then it retrograded back into Cancer right away and stayed there and has been there ever since until the other day when we talked about this last week. However, now this is the last hurrah. This is the last journey of Mars opposite Pluto. It will make other aspects not right now. This is the one we're concerned with because we've had this long journey since last October, November with Mars opposing Pluto, and now we're finishing. This week is the end of that story. It may have felt like it was one story back in 2024, and then when we entered 2025 and we had the difference of signs, Mars is much better in Leo than it is in Cancer. It was harder opposite Pluto in Capricorn when it was in Cancer. That was a harder thing because it was at the end of a cycle of many, many years, because it was at the end of a sign that it's not really particularly fond of. And then when it goes into, the next arena, which is Leo, Mars likes Leo. Mars is fiery. Leo is fire. It's good in Leo. So we have many more weeks of Mars in Leo before it goes into Virgo. But what's really happening here is that it's giving us the last message of Mars opposite Pluto. Empower yourself. Empower yourself. Be aware of this all week. Connect with the part of yourself. Maybe there are things you'd rather avoid. Try not to have an argument. Be very careful in your dealings with people this week. Do not allow yourself to get up in arms with others, okay? It's an opposition. It's you and the person across the table from you. It's them and you. So release the frustrations. Release the energies that are bottled up. Uncork the champagne and let yourself be free right now, okay? While we have this T-square, the T-square is going to go on most of the week. And then the sun will move out of it after Wednesday afternoon, or wherever you are in the world. After Wednesday afternoon Eastern time, you are going to feel one part of this be relieved. Now, Mars and Pluto will not have met yet, but when there's this close proximity of these planets, it usually means there's stuff to be dealt with, and we're going to feel it sooner. So we could feel something today, we could feel something Wednesday, and we could feel something Saturday. Or it's just a long journey all week, okay? Be patient with yourself. Be patient with others. Love yourself through this process. Please be kind to yourself. Please be kind. Okay. Let's move forward into the other days and the other things that are going on. Another significant moment. Venus is conjunct Saturn. This is Thursday the 24th, 8:02 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 6:02 p.m. my time. Again, this is the last time they're doing this. Now, I said they were going to be conjunct all month. And it makes our relationships, again, a little bumpy, a little uncomfortable, a little restricting, a little responsible, dutiful, those good things, all those good Saturn things. And when we're experiencing this, Venus, Saturn, it'll be like 26, 27 degrees Pisces, and it'll be at the North Node. So there's something fulfilling in this for us, okay? Because the North Node is the direction of fulfillment. Again, the North Node is in Pisces. This is about feeling. This is not about analyzing because the South Node is in Virgo. We're in a beautiful place with that North Node in Pisces. It's asking us to feel and sense and intuit and connect. And so it may be hard for us to connect with our feelings deeply because there's something we want to avoid or we are afraid of. And there's fear and the discomfort or the embarrassment or the shame or the guilt. All of that can be part of this as we deal with Venus-Saturn North Node in Pisces. This is going to be another challenge that we're getting through this week. So while all of this Sun, Mars, Pluto, and the Moon, for good luck, is going on, we've got Venus and Saturn working on this other situation with the North Node. The North Node is where we're fulfilled. And it doesn't mean we're necessarily like instantly gratified. That's the South Node, okay? If it's the North Node and it's a place of fulfillment, there's a lesson in it. There's something where we may stand by someone very strongly. That's a Saturn Venus too. It's a committed relationship. We support someone. Someone supports us. This is a very deep connection with the North Node. So as the three of them meet up this week, we are in a very profound recognition of our relationships, of our responsibilities in our relationships, of our responsibility to what fulfills us. If there's something that is showing itself to you now that is deeply fulfilling, and you don't necessarily want to embrace it not because it feels wrong, because you're like shying away from it, you'd rather avoid it, those kinds of things. Not because it's wrong, not because it's not in alignment. It is in alignment. So we want to get in alignment this week about what is fulfilling to us. Remember what I said a minute ago about the empty space of that T-square being in Scorpio, passion. The connection between Scorpio and Pisces is a very good one. They're both water signs. We're being asked to feel this week. Feel. Be sensitive. Okay? Be connected. Connect with people. Connect with our passions. Connect with what fulfills us. So this is very important to remember as we go through this week, as we go through Thursday especially. Now, I said before, I gave you a little hint that the moon is really getting involved with things, right? So it is not an accident that we have this intense T-square in the fixed signs and the moon is part of it. And then right afterwards, because, Aquarius is followed by Pisces, we've got Venus, Saturn, North Node in Pisces, and the moon is going to be in Pisces. So after Aquarius comes Pisces, the moon leaves Aquarius and it goes into Pisces, Tuesday, Wednesday, depending on where you are. This is important because Venus and Saturn meet, like I said, 8:02 p.m. Eastern Time, and then the moon, which is already in Pisces, will conjunct Saturn at 10:54 p.m. So then that's 2 hours later or so. And then 3 minutes later, the moon will conjunct Venus at 10:57 p.m. And then it will go void of course. Now, that's another big deal because the moon is triggering this T-square today. And the moon is triggering this long-term conjunction on Thursday. Something's going to culminate. Pay attention. Listen to your life, listen to everything that's happening to you, and connect with what's important. This is a good week to achieve something because Saturn likes to achieve and create something that it can hold in its hand, that it can be something tangible. And so with the North Node, something fulfilling can really come of this. So we want to pay so much attention this week to ourselves, to our lives, to our dialogues, to our connections with people, to how we spend time with people and what they say to us. So this is powerful. Now, of course, if you are a Pisces, you're going to feel this. For sure, we're all going to feel it. We're all going to feel it. But where is Pisces for you? Are you a Pisces? Are you someone who's got the sun at the end of Pisces? This is going to be another lineup of planets. This isn't just going to be, right now I'm looking at my wheel and I've got Venus, Saturn, North Node. And then right after that Thursday evening, it's going to be Moon, North Node, Saturn, Venus. All of it together. All of it together. All at once. And so this is so connected. This is 4 things in one spot. This is a stellium with 3 planets and the North Node. So deep, so profound, okay? You hopefully will have a big realization throughout all of this. Mars is going to be getting ready to oppose Pluto. The sun will still be squaring Pluto. It's all happening at the same time. These are relationship planets, Mars and Venus. They're involved with some heavy-duty astrology this week. We are really in some deep revelations this week of our own lives, of ourselves, of our relationships. My God, you have to pay attention. You have got to sit and listen to this, okay? You have got to look at where this is in your chart. If you don't know your chart, go look it up online. And if you need help, come to me. I can sit with you and show you how this is going to play out in your life. It may be very powerful. If you're a Virgo, this is, and especially if you're at the end of Virgo, someone who's in September right before Libra, you are going to be feeling this dramatically. You're going to get all of this opposite you. If you're a Gemini and you're someone who's towards the end of Gemini in June, right before Cancer, you're going to feel this. If you are a Sagittarius, again, someone who is a Sagittarius sun, who has the sun, like your birthday is in December before Capricorn. It's the end of Sagittarius, around mid-month, the 15th or something. Yeah, you're going to feel this, but Pisces are probably going to feel it the most. All of us have this somewhere in our charts. Every one of us. No one's exempt. No one can escape. We're getting a big dynamic T-square. We're getting a huge conjunction. A T-square, it looks like a T. If you draw a T, that's what the planets are doing. They're all at those points of the T. A conjunction is everybody's clustered together in one spot. Okay? This is something really intense. So, I promise you it will not be a dull week. It's so incredible for us to watch this play out this week. And I really feel like, on a certain level, this is one of the most important moments after all the retrogrades, after Mars retrograde, after Venus retrograde, after the eclipses. And it's so important. Now, Venus is meeting Saturn for the third time. Okay? Venus is meeting Saturn for the third time. And the first time was January 18th. The second time was a couple of weeks ago. And now she's doing the last thing because she met Saturn when she went direct. Okay? Now she's coming back for Saturn again. And that's it. She's going to finish the story with Saturn. What's also interesting, and what's not happening until next week, is that Venus is going to go into Aries next week, which is where she went retrograde. But then after that, she's going to conjunct Neptune. And that's her third time conjuncting Neptune, but it's going to be in Aries. More on that in next week's podcast. Stay tuned. In the meantime, one of the other things that we're looking at is there's a new moon next Sunday. And so the next time we meet on this podcast, there will be a new moon in the sign of Taurus. That will be the sun and the moon in Taurus. And every year we have a new moon in Taurus and Taurus season. However, the last time we had a lunation was the full moon. And that was on the 12th. And that was the full moon that kicked out the eclipse period. So we had the full moon, and now we're having a new moon. And this is the way things go. These are not eclipses. But that last one on April 12th was in Libra, and it was the one that kicked out the eclipse period. And this is when, Venus went direct, and Venus ruled that full moon. Now, Venus is ruling the new moon. So we have two moons in succession, as we do every year, the full moon, and then the new moon in Taurus, full moon in Libra, new moon in Taurus, and they are both ruled by Venus. Venus is having this big aspect with Saturn in the North Node and the moon, and then she will be the ruler of the new moon in Taurus. So we're kicking out a whole lot this week. We are ending stories of Mars and Pluto. We're ending stories of Venus and Saturn. Where did you feel restricted, responsible, guilty? Where did you feel held back? Where did you feel that you had to take a leap of faith someplace because in your relationships, because Venus and Saturn were like asking you to do this? Okay? Where did all this come about? Where did Mars and Pluto ask you to own your power? How did this all come about? Were you in fights with somebody during the beginning of January? Look at where you are now. It's a long time. It may be a kind of a different story. It's a long time since January. But, we're now approaching the middle towards, the end of April. It was just April 1st. It was just April 1st. I can't comprehend how quickly the months are going. It's going to be May. It's going to be May soon. All right, let's just focus. Today's the 20th. This is a big week. Be ready for it. Prepare for it. Understand it. If you need support, I am available. Come and see me for a session. You can go to my website, thegoldenastrologer.com, and click on book online, and you can set up a session with me. And it would be wise. Talking about what's happened for you, what's going on for you. I'm also available to do Reiki. Reiki's great because it's soothing, it's healing, we can clear up the obstacles. I can change things around these aspects for you. We can clear up energy that might be lingering, that might need some sweeping out with these aspects coming. And we can also I do cards, I do alchemy cards, archetype cards, tarot cards. This is something really also very insightful, but maybe you just need a quick card reading as opposed to a whole astrological situation. If you have a handle on where these aspects are happening, how they felt, well, then that's good, and you want to move through them, you want to navigate through them, and maybe you need other support, like I said, cards. I am available for expansion mentoring, and the expansion mentoring is 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. And I invite you to work with me for that time, and we can go deep into, clearing old beliefs, clearing up blockages to things like money and relationships and all sorts of good, juicy things we can help work through for you in those months. And certainly contact me if you need something, info@thegoldenastrologer.com or deb@debmcbride.com. And I am on Instagram, The Golden Astrologer, if you'd like to learn more during the week. This is a powerful week. It's an exciting week, too. Take some initiative if that's what feels right in this week. Now we can take initiative. Mars is direct. Mars is in Leo. Everything's direct now. It's a great time to take some initiative. So use the energy, the stopped up energy that's been with us for months. This is a real good week to release all of that. Many blessings to all of you. Much gratitude to everyone for listening. Always. I am extraordinarily grateful, and I can't even express it. It's so deep in my heart, the gratitude. So grateful to all of you. Thank you for listening, and I will see you on the internet this week.